Good morning, everybody. Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers and Gerry Hamilton. Time for Saturday morning, guys. A little football later today. I'm ready for it. We'll be out at the tailgate here in a little bit. This episode of On Texas Football brought to you by our friends over at Tito's, America's original handmade vodka. Hey, guys, Gerry and Rod, the Longhorns host UTEP, the Miners coming in 1-1 on the season. Texas, a 40.5-point favorite in this one. We've done our predictions, and we'll talk about those a little bit more. But I want to ask y'all one final thought before we get going here and the keys for the game for the Longhorns today.
Well, for me, I think it's a clean start offensively. And I'm not talking first series. I'm talking like 2 or 3 really good series of offense. Even if you don't score points, just not putting yourself behind the chains. I'll let Rod get into the third and forevers. But staying out of those situations, positive 2-3 first down drives, playing clean football. You know what? If you get stopped, you punt it or kick a field goal. But I just want to see clean football offensively is what I want to see. And defensively, I really want to see Colin Simmons get off to a good start. I think he's been pressing. I think this is a great game for him. UTEP's improved their offensive line play, but they're still a ways off from having the talent level to really compete and win against the Texas. This is an opportunity for Colin Simmons to kind of have a breakout game this season. So it's offensive consistency the first 2 or 3 series. Just move the football. Don't set yourself behind the chains. Get penalties on third downs. Give the offense a chance out of the gate because that's what we did not see much last week.
All right, Rod B., what about you? What are you looking for today?
It's a great opportunity for the offense. It really is. I think this UTEP defense can challenge them in a number of ways. We've talked about it, right? They have 10 sacks, tied for the national lead in sacks with 10 sacks, and it's by 9 different players contributed to that with 23 tackles for loss. I think they're third nationally in the country in tackles for loss overall. 14 different players contribute to that. So they like to wreak a lot of havoc. Blitz rate, their opposing quarterbacks so far have been blitzed over 55% of the time. Arch Manning so far, 41% of his dropbacks have been blitz under that type of pressure. So he's going to have to deal with more of the blitz, and they're going to come with a lot of exotic games and twists and stunts. Even Sark talked about how the defensive line is going to be moving around a ton. It's going to be a good test for the Texas offensive line. Can they assert their will and really kind of neutralize all the different types of pressure they're going to try to bring? Or, will Texas decide, will Arch handle that pressure, right? Arch being under that type of pressure with them blitzing a lot. So it'll be interesting to see what the approach is for the Texas offense. Also, third down. Jerry mentioned it. Right now, Texas is averaging third and 7.5 yards to gain on third down through the first two games. So that's basically you're averaging more than third and long, right? You're in third and long on average, and you got to get that to a minimal, something that's a little bit more achievable, all right, from down to down, especially on that third down. And I think for Texas, it's going to be big. They're a top 10 third down defense. So they present a lot of problems on third down. It's really because of how well they tackle. CJ Vogel brought this up. Pro Football Focus has them as the best tackling defense, best tackling grade overall for any defense in the country. So there's some things they're going to present to Texas that could be problematic. I can't wait to see how Texas solves those problems based on the game plan and the scheme and what they have to adjust to.
I love y'all's points. I would add this. I mean, we've talked about playmakers throughout this week as well, and who's going to step up or who's not going to step up even, right? Because there's 2 sides of the same coin. I hope that we see Ryan Wingo get right.
Yeah.
I think that if he and Arch can start having a little bit better in-game communication and working with one another, I think that's one of the things that may unlock the success of this offense. I think another thing may be seeing what running back can work with C.J. Baxter. If Trey Wisner is going to be a prolonged absence, we don't expect him to be long. Sark said earlier this week that he didn't expect any of the guys out right now to be season ending. It was just going to be a little bit before they got going. And then the other piece is the tight end play and see if the Texas tight ends, they had 4 of them caught balls last week. See if Nick Townsend, Amari Winston, and Jordan Washington get added in with Jack injuries as well as Spencer Shannon, and see what they can make of it. So I'm like you guys. I think a lot of what y'all talked about today or this morning here is the number of offense issues that is facing today. None of us. Gerry mentioned Colin Simmons pressing, but that's not exactly, he's still darn good player. You know it. I think we're all focused on the offense today. So good luck to them as they get going. Again, 40.5-point favorites as of this morning. Here were our predictions. I went 38-0. Rod, you were 42-6. Gerry, 48-13. That's all of our predictions from the entire On Texas Football staff. I think we missed out on Stevie Lee. That's the only one we got. Did y'all have any comments about our predictions as a whole here and why you went the direction you did individually?
Yeah, so I went with 48-13 for a couple of reasons. We just mentioned it yesterday on the afternoon live stream. DeAndre Moore likely not playing. Trey Weiser likely not playing. Emmett Mosley not likely to make his debut. Those are some considerable pieces that were 3 starting players for you coming out of spring headed into the season. And those are 3 of your top potential playmakers. So I think offensively, they're just missing some of the parts. And now, look, I could easily be proven wrong on that because I do think Texas will play a better game today. But I'm not sure they have the parts right now to go unless UTEP kicks the ball around. Malachi Nelson throws the ball to Texas a lot. I'm not sure Texas is going to run up 55, 60 points on anybody right now offensively. And I'm not sure Sark coaches that type of game unless it's Texas Tech and he's really mad at them.
Or Oklahoma State? Don't forget about that game. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because either Texas is going to decide, you know what, we're going to be a little stubborn and bullish in the way we're going to approach our passing game, and we're still going to throw it vertically downfield, even though they're going to apply a lot of pressure and they're going to blitz, and we're going to hope our pass protection holds up, or they're going to adjust, and we're going to see more of the quick game come out in this game. Because of a team that likes to blitz a lot. So I think that's important. So my 42-6 score was, I don't have Texas covering because I think Texas may at times struggle to adjust to that. That's what I'm watching. Because Texas hasn't really implemented a ton of quick game, and their wide receiver screen game hasn't worked really well. And that's been a big part of their quick game last season. That hasn't worked really well, and they'll be missing some wide receivers. So I think, there could be times where the offense stalls because of that.
All right, I went 38-0. I'm sensing I'm smelling a shutout. The defense has been close, so I think that this is going to be a defense-dominated game, hopefully, for the Longhorns. All right, look, before we get in and talk a little A&M Notre Dame, that happens late tonight. Florida versus LSU in Death Valley. You also have Georgia going to Tennessee up at Neyland Stadium. There's several games that we want to get into and just get y'all's quick thoughts on. I want to say thank you to our sponsor. A sponsor of the Saturday Conversation is Tito's Handmade Vodka. That's America's original handmade vodka. As you can tell, this is the Saturday Conversation this morning. We have the tailgate that starts up around 1 o'clock today, sponsored by our friends over at Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof. Watch with Us begins at 3:15 this afternoon. Our friends at Vaughn Lane are part of that with us. And then also the post-game live immediately following the show. Rod and I will get together and talk a little football and post-game thoughts for the folks at Flight by Yingling. All right, let's get into it. I want to start with Florida LSU because that is the next game for the Longhorns. That's who Texas plays next. LSU and Florida is kind of smarting from a surprising loss to South Florida. Is this the area where it's kind of do or die, or Florida starts licking its wounds and maybe looking for a new coach? Is it that point in the season already for the Gators, Gerry?
Yeah, so look, I think with the game, one of the things to watch game within the game is LSU's center got hurt last week and was not able to come back into the game. So is he going to play? And that's going to be big because Caleb Banks has not played this year. The defensive tackle, it's a top 2-round draft pick projection. This is his first game action of season against LSU, and he had a game against the Tigers last year. So, a little game within the game to watch there. As far as the Gators, look, I mean, 5 of their next 6 games are against teams ranked in the top 10 currently. I mean, good luck with that. And if Florida doesn't show up with a strong effort against LSU, I think the people around the program are going to sense something's really off. Because this should almost be Florida's best game of the year, because this is coming off an upset loss, a game DJ Lagway didn't play well, but this should be the best effort of the season for Florida if they're going to have a bounce back opportunity, because next week at Miami, that's going to be tough too. Then they get the off week and play Texas. Then, oh, by the way, they go to A&M the week after that. So the next 4 games are brutal, physical, 3 road games against ranked opponents. If they don't show up with a tremendous effort in Baton Rouge tonight, they got issues inside those walls.
Rod, you agree with that assessment from Gerry?
Yeah, I agree, because one of the issues that we thought the offensive line for LSU was going to be an issue, and then that opening matchup versus Clemson, some people said the best D line in the country. LSU offensive line looked pretty damn good considering the opponent, and so I do think in this matchup, if that defensive line of Florida can't really step up and harass Nussmeier, then I think this, I don't know, I'm not saying it could get out of hand, basically, in my opinion. I'll say this, and Nussmeier did a great job against that Clemson D-line. It was really the insulation of him getting rid of football. I think he averaged less than 2.1 seconds in his time to throw in that game. It was 2.09 actually, which is just phenomenal. Talk about pre-snap diagnosis and then being able to confirm your post-snap analysis as a quarterback. Also, something to watch is the defensive coordinator for LSU. Man, he is aggressive, to say the least. Yeah, they're top 10. Blake Baker, they're top 10 in blitz rate, and they get after opposing quarterbacks. And I'm not worried about Lagway being able to, process quick enough with that defense, with all those athletes coming at him for LSU on the defensive side. So
staying away from hits, Rod, and staying away from hits, because they're going to bring it.
I want to say this, Rod, Florida, LSU's favored by 6.5. Who you got?
Oh, LSU. Yeah.
Gerry, both y'all LSU.
Yeah.
I'm going to go LSU as well. I think this may be the swan song. The fat lady may be singing for Billy Napier. All right, let's talk a little Georgia, Tennessee before we move to A&M Notre Dame. Georgia favored by 3.5. 2:30 game on ABC, so it's literally opposite the Texas UTEP game at 3 that starts at 3:15. Y'all have any thoughts on this one? I mean, Georgia has not looked good offensively. Tennessee has played little sisters of the poor. We don't really know. Josh Heupel runs it up against smaller schools. Is Tennessee for real, or is Georgia not what they once were? Where do we go, Rod? What do you think?
Gunnar Stockton, I think Tennessee's going to challenge him to be to throw the football downfield. I'll give you a little nugget about Gunnar Stockton. If you go look at his average depth of target in his career, 6.4 yards. Average depth of target in his career. So if I'm going up against him, I challenge them to be able to beat us with balls down the field, vertically down the field. I think that's going to be kind of the next step for him ultimately. But Kirby Smart against Josh Heupel, man, Kirby Smart is usually the safer bet. Josh Heupel is a great offensive mind. Since he got to Tennessee, they're averaging 36 points per game, 6.6 yards per play, actually 39 points per game, 6.6 yards per play. But against Kirby, that number drops to 14 points per game when he coaches up against Kirby. He's only scored 17 as his high against Kirby Smart. No, I'll take Kirby Smart in that defense. He knows something when it comes to going up against that Josh Heupel offense. Josh Heupel has not been able to score at least 20 against Kirby Smart. So they got to get to 20. They get to 20, they beat Tennessee.
So you taking Georgia and the points, 3.5?
I'll take Georgia. I don't like that Georgia offense, but I'll take Kirby Smart is what I'm betting on.
Yeah, I'm taking Georgia as well. And one of the reasons I am is Tennessee's starting corners are out. And Georgia is better at wide out this year. And Jamon McCoy's an All-American. You don't just replace All-Americans. And Ricky Gibson on the other side has turned into an NFL player as well. So they're down their top 2 corners. Now, they hadn't played this season. And then on the flip side, Georgia played without 2 starting offensive linemen last week, Juan Gaston and Ernest Green. So we'll see where those guys' health is. But I like Georgia. I think Georgia's a bad matchup for some people say Georgia's a bad matchup for anybody, but especially against Tennessee. Because I don't think Tennessee's going to establish the run game they want to against Georgia's front. And that's going to be their issue. Now, Tennessee is better at quarterback this year, and Matthews is going to grow into a high-round NFL draft pick at wideout. But they don't have as much margin for error as Georgia in this game.
I'm going Tennessee.
And
I'll tell you why. I just not a Gunnar Stockton believer.
Yeah.
I think that Tennessee does have a good defense. I will tell you that, I mean, the over-under on this game is 50.5 points. Man, if it gets to 30, I'll be surprised. I mean, and so I'm not a gambler. Y'all know that. But I looked at that and I was like, that can't be right. And sure enough, it is. So we'll see. Let's talk about A&M Notre Dame, if y'all don't mind. I think the Aggies going up there 6.5 point underdogs, by the way, to Notre Dame. Notre Dame beating A&M last year in College Station. New quarterback, though, for Notre Dame, C.J. Carr. Lloyd Carr, the former Michigan coach, grandson, is the new quarterback there for Marcus Freeman. It is a revamped Aggie offense with more firepower at receiver in KC Concepcion and Mario Craver. They've got both the running backs and Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss back. It should be a good, powerful offensive line. Yet Notre Dame still favored by 6.5. What am I missing in this story?
Well,
if A&M is returning everybody,
I think. Look, I'm one of the people that thought Notre Dame actually looked like a formidable team this season against Miami. That was a raucous environment. Miami, that every former player that plays for Miami that could be there was there. And that was C.J. Carr's first start. I actually think C.J. Carr looked like he's going to be a player in college football in that game, despite some first game starting mistakes. I'm a big fan of his. I think Notre Dame, this is going to be a night game there. It's going to be wild. I think Notre Dame's going to win this game physically, but I think the key for A&M coming out of this game is they went big in the portal at wide receiver because they thought they needed speed. Well, this speed's not going to go up against the best corners in the country. So let's see how they do in this game. Can they win enough battles? And can Marcel get them the ball enough? Because, look, Miami made some unbelievable catches against contested coverage and had a ball bounce their way. Otherwise, that game goes a different way. Can A&M guys get open and make those huge plays against that tight coverage of Notre Dame? Because Notre Dame, they're not going to sit there and blow coverages and be out of position. You're going to have to beat them man on man.
What do you think, Rod? So
I'm taking Notre Dame to cover.
Give me your pick. Give me your pick, Jerry.
Notre Dame to cover.
Notre Dame to cover 6.5. Okay. Touchdown favorite. Rod B?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pick A&M because of the history. That's what it is. I love this stat. It's mind-blowing, but it's true. Texas A&M's last ranked road win, 2014 versus Auburn. Texas A&M football's last true road win versus a non-conference Power 4 team, 2002 versus Pitt. A&M's last win versus a ranked non-conference opponent. Texas A&M's last win versus a ranked non-conference opponent, and 1979 versus Penn State.
So you're
1979. So you're taking A&M clearly, right?
Yeah, you're taking A&M.
I listen. First of all, Notre Dame's got major issues on their front, their offensive line, their defensive line. Actually, they got some issues. They had an 18.8% pressure rate against Miami. That was their lowest in 3 years. And their run blocking, so their pass blocking grade versus Miami was the worst in Notre Dame offensive Pro Football Focus history. They're great. Like they were bad on lines of scrimmage. That's usually not Notre Dame. But I'm picking Notre Dame. They're desperate. Currently, Notre Dame doesn't have a ranked team left on their schedule. So if they want to be in the big, the playoff discussion, this is a big win for them.
Yeah.
They're desperate. I think desperation wins. The Aggies, I think matchup wise, this is pretty good for them, but history wise, doesn't bode well.
Yeah, I'll never pick the Aggies. So y'all know my take on that. I think that's enough on that one. All right, so Gerry and Rod are taking Notre Dame, and I'm going to take Notre Dame as well. All right, a couple other games that I do want to mention in the SEC. Arkansas goes to Ole Miss. That's the 6 o'clock game. Ole Miss only favored by 6.5. I thought that was interesting. And then Vandy goes to South Carolina, and South Carolina only favored by 2.5. Those are going to be some interesting games because obviously Texas plays Arkansas later in the year. Texas plays Vandy at home. That will be the first conference home game for the Longhorns at the beginning of November. So those are two interesting ones. The other ones, OU goes to Temple. The Sooners are 25.5-point favorites. Auburn hosts Major Applewhite's South Alabama squad. They're 24-point favorites. Louisiana Lafayette, or just Louisiana now, goes to Missouri. Missouri, 27-point favorites. Alcorn State goes to Mississippi State. That game doesn't even have a line. And then obviously those are it. Nationally, there are a couple games of interest that I think people are going to want to watch later today. Clemson, Georgia Tech starts at 11. If Haynes King, and that game is at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
If Haynes King can beat Clemson could be very much out of the playoff race unless they win the ACC championship in week 3 of the season.
That's crazy.
And 3. Now, Clemson is only 2.5-point favorites. The other game, obviously, is South Florida and Miami. Miami, 17.5-point favorites. Although South Florida is trying to be the first team since Miami to beat 3 ranked opponents to start the season.
Amazing.
We'll see how that goes. All right. Should be interesting. Good luck to the Texas Longhorns. That'll do it for this morning's Saturday conversation. Thanks to Gerry. Thanks to Rod. Thanks to our producer, Matt Hutchison. And thank you again to our friends at Tito's, America's original handmade vodka. For you guys, have a good week. If you're traveling up to Austin, be safe. If you're staying at home, root on the Longhorns. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.